Happy Saturday morning, and I hope you've had an awesome Christmas. I hope it's still going on for you with family and friends coming around and just extending the season into the weekend. On this Saturday morning, Cynthia Hash is going to take us on a tour of real estate. And you were telling us last week, Cynthia, that I'd be surprised, there are people out there looking for houses during the Christmas holidays.
Yeah, I mean, family get-togethers and they start thinking about how can we move closer to one another, stuff like
Hmm.
that. But I tell you, I was just getting over the Thanksgiving food coma, and now I'm in the Christmas food coma.
Uh, yeah, but the Christmas food coma includes a lot more cookies. So,
Yes, it does, and lot and gifts
oh, I know. Yeah,
of
that's so
all
much fun.
sorts. Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
hopefully you got some of the Harry and David citrus fruit and to balance out the cookies.
Oh yeah, there was the I think it was it wasn't was it Wonder? There was somebody who makes the fruit cake. And
Oh,
you
yeah,
either
yeah.
love it or hate it, you know.
Yeah.
And and I think it was I think it was Wonder or somebody that made it. They don't make it anymore. And that
Oh,
is
man.
the only one I want. I
Is
don't
it,
want any of the
I never heard of that one. I just know, man, fruitcake, the density in the cake is just, I don't know. All I can think of is just trying to get a little bite of it because I love cherries. I love all the fruit that's in it. It's
Yeah,
just
huh?
that dense cake is wow.
It is
But,
pretty dense, but I think I won't eat anybody else's, but that one. No, was it by Hostess? I think it was Hostess.
might have
Yeah,
been. Yeah.
it was Hostess, I think. I knew it was one or the other. But my grandmother used to always get those, and and she said, that's one thing you cannot, very few people can make homemade and it
Mm.
be actually good.
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
I wouldn't even want to begin to think about that. Although I imagine it's a 2 or 3 day long process.
oh gosh, I can imagine. Yeah, what?
Anyway,
But during the holidays, yeah, we do still have folks, wanting to buy homes and things
mhm.
like that. I think that's great, uh, and I think the last quarter has been, you know, is hopefully a shadow or of the prediction of what that 2026 is going to be better than
That would be good.
2025. I'm hoping, but
But
the
when you say better, and could because there was volume, but volume was moving around and there was more affordability, it seemed like in some of the reports you went through on us.
Yeah, yeah, it's starting to show those signs.
Hmm.
But we're going to have to re-educate our sellers. Yes, indeed. But I will say, I'm going to talk about buyer agency right now. That was that was made into a law and a
Yeah.
regulation with NAR and so forth. And in Virginia, we've always supposed to have it, but
Hmm.
it's it hasn't been really policed very well. So now it's getting there, and I think it's not an all bad thing. But what I can tell you is buyers can are in a position, and sellers are too, that where it's finally gotten to the point where I think realtors, agents, that we're actually able to uh, stop getting kicked to the curb.
Really, has it been that
Mhm.
bad? Oh my
It's
gosh.
yeah, it's been bad all of my career, and it's been bad always because people think that we get paid hourly. They think we get paid,
Ton of
just
money. Yeah.
all kinds of, more money than is the truth. And there's there's a situation that would be called, basically in contract. Okay. So if you're in contract and you don't follow through with that contract, you are therefore in breach of contract. Okay.
Okay.
Well, even more so now, this is about the title of this show is, are agents allowed to sue clients for breach of contract?
Interesting. So if somebody says I want to buy this house and then they back out, leaving the realtor kind of holding the bag.
Well, not just the contract of purchase. I'm talking about service contracts here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you figure these are service contracts, and that if you sign on with a realtor and and you didn't go through with it, and you didn't sign, with another agent, or
Hmm.
you move, right, it's all those things. What happens is people assume that we give our advice, our direction, our help, all of our contact people that we deal with, all these things.
Hmm.
They think all that's for free. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not.
Yeah, I was
You're
going to say,
taking you're taking advantage of our intellectual property and not paying us. And that's not reasonable at
no, I
all.
don't think so. So you're talking about saying somebody gets you to give them all the advice and kind of
Mhm.
preps you out on the house and then sells it themselves, like a FISBO.
That could be on the seller side. The buyer
Okay.
side, they go off and buy a house with another agent, even though they have an exclusive right to represent the buyer agreement with you. Okay.
Mm.
So the answer to the question is, are agents allowed to sue clients for breach of contract? The long and short of it is, you bet your swippy.
Okay, so you can sue. Now, it certainly doesn't sound like that's a preferable end to the relationship, though.
No, absolutely not. But I thought I'd put that in there because it reminds me of, remember Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Okay, right. So that was "You Bet Your Sweet Bippy" is basically a humorous but emphatic
Right.
phrase that says you can be absolutely certain, or you can count on it.
Hmm. That's right.
Yeah. And I think and of course, this dates us, doesn't it? The 1960s TV
Well,
show.
just a little bit. Yeah.
But I thought it was worth mentioning because I wanted people to remember this. It's basically a lighthearted way of agreeing strongly or confirming
Mhm.
something. So I wanted it to be a little bit more lighthearted. Um, but there was a Florida case that saw a brokerage actually win $24,000 in arbitration from a buyer who breached an exclusive agreement.
It's going to happen. So what was the argument? Because it sounds like what you were saying is the buyer then went off and said, "Hey, I've got another guy who showed me this house, and I like this house, so I'm going to buy it." And then
Yep.
didn't pay the
Yeah,
brokerage that he had
the
signed up
original
with.
broker that they were dealing with.
Jeez,
Yeah, and so
ethics.
so what happens is, what people do, how the term ghosting,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
never happened to me. I mean, I was never nobody would ever ghost me. But
but it happens to salespeople all the time.
yeah,
And it ha and quite frankly, I kind of don't like the term salesperson, because I'm really not a salesperson. I'm
right.
really, more of an advisor.
Hmm.
And if you did that to your lawyer, and you got, hours of advice, or you did that to some, your
Medical professional.
contractor or your medical professional or anybody, quite frankly, that you can think, your contractor, for example, let's say they came out, gave you advice, gave you, you know, not only an estimate, but also maybe started the work a little bit, and
Hmm.
st and when a contractor works, they can put a lien against your house if you don't pay them.
Right. That's and that's interesting because that's where I commonly see this is the contractor's lien because somebody will get some architectural drawing of an extension and
Hmm.
then call their
Hmm.
buddy who's got, a few free weekends and said, let's go to Lowe's and get the two by fours. I've got the drawing now. And meanwhile, the guys had to pay an architect to draw these plans out.
Yeah, that's right. And so it just, and when you sign a contract, okay, your signature should mean something. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now should mean something for the agent too. Don't
Hmm.
get me wrong. There's two sides. Okay.
Oh,
But a
right.
contract is a contract. And it is and now here the thing is, where if you go and sign a buyer broker agreement, and then you go and to an open house and you say, okay, hey, to the agent that's sitting there, the listing agent, 9 out of 10 times not representing you anyway, but
Yeah.
you say, hey, write up the contract. I want it right
Uh,
now. And you didn't tell them that you had an agent who's supposed to be, who
doing
you
all
are
that, right?
supposed to do this. Yes, you've signed a contract that says when I find a house or when you find a house, doesn't matter who found it, you get paid because you're going to give me advice all the way through the thing.
Right.
Okay.
And we got here. Did that happen a lot during the crazy COVID days when people were showing up from Northern Virginia with bags
Yeah.
of money? Good, because
Hmm.
I was looking for a house at that time too, and uncounted number of times I'd be
Hmm.
on my way back from looking at a house only to get my realtor to call and say, "Yeah, somebody just bought it for cash, 40% over asking." I'm like, how
Yeah.
are we supposed to handle it? But I mean, it sounds like that was a common thing then. Somebody just shows up
Yeah.
and says to the seller's agent, here's more money than you are asking for. Give me the house.
Yeah, pretty much. That happens. But what I'm saying, what you did was correct. You and Elaine went to to your agent,
Hmm.
and your agent was, able to find that out, obviously.
Right.
But but you still ended up using your agent, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That this entire case that happened with Echo Fine Properties, the the this is showing that the buyer broker agreements are legally enforceable, just like any other contract.
Yeah.
Okay. And the arbitration ended up being, I think they bought an $800,000 house, and the arbitrator actually awarded the 3% commission on that, you know, for that brokerage that actually wasn't even the agent that they went through to
Right.
buy this $800,000 house.
But they were the one that had the contract with the buyer.
And see, that's the thing, is that they had the contract with the buyer's agent, the purchaser
Right.
did, and basically what this ruling does is it confirms that they're legally binding contracts too. These buyer broker agreements are,
Hmm.
and quite frankly, I don't care what what you think, like, oh boy, these realtors are really nasty. No, that's not the case.
No.
What I'm saying is that both buyers and agents are protected within that buyer broker agreement. Who
Hmm.
knows what their agent or their original agent might have seen that the other agent didn't, for
Right.
example. you know
Right.
and so you have to understand that it is not just a one-way street, it is
Well,
a
and also,
two-way street.
wouldn't
Hmm.
this also protect you from collusion? Like somebody
Hmm.
shows up and says, "Hey, I've got a buddy who's selling this house, and
Hmm.
I'm showing it. Why don't you buy it and we'll split the difference or something along those lines?" When that's not your agent at all.
Well, exactly. And not only that, but net listings is kind of what you're talking about, is
Hmm.
actually against the law. So these are things that your agent's going to look out for you for. Well, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so these kinds of things, I think personally, written agreements should mean something. Your signature should mean something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it really does boil down to this being a case that's going to be seen as a benchmark.
Oh, really?
Because
Precedent setting.
yes, I think what's going to happen is we're going to possibly see a rise in litigation and arbitration as well, as brokers actually try to get and get their money and
Hmm.
enforce their agreements now and recover the commissions. You know, I'm kind of glad this is going to be leading
Yeah.
possibly to the end of realtors working for free all the time.
Hmm.
Because yeah, because I wouldn't, I don't like working for free.
Well, so
And I
so
Mhm.
when somebody represents you in
Mhm.
the purchase of a house, let's say, more likely somebody's, and so they're going to be paid by you up through the sale.
Mhm.
and because they've got to eat, they've got an electric bill they've got to pay. So there is consideration for that time during the process of going up to sell.
That's exactly right. So when you earn commission, okay,
Hmm.
you're basically working for free up until the point that the property
Right.
closes, that you have helped the person, the buyer or seller, get under contract.
Hmm.
And so it feels like it's for free, but it's really not. It's basically if I sat down and figured out the time that I spent and the hours that I've spent and the intellectual property that I've given away,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera, I would be a multimillionaire,
If you
be,
could monetize it. Yeah,
if
I
I
see
could
what you're saying.
monetize it all. Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's where people don't realize that sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, or sometimes it's what you know and where you can point them and
Right.
where you can help them and guide them and so forth. And so these kinds of things end up being intellectual property
Hmm.
and that I I can tell now, being in this for almost 30 years, I can tell now sometimes who and why they're calling and what they really sometimes want. I mean, I've had people from church call and just pick my brain and then go do a FISBO after they've gotten all my
Yeah, see,
tips.
that's, you know,
Yeah.
when you're at the cocktail party and you're like, "Hey, doc, it hurts when I do this,"
Uh-huh.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I wonder, does this also go the other direction? I mean, it's protecting the agent, but it also should be protecting the buyer or the
It
seller,
should.
you know, because
That's
then
exactly right. Hmm. Well, you would have to prove one way or the other
Mhm.
that one was in breach. So the if you have a buyer broker agreement and the buyer buys something from somebody else, you would have to. And I've had this happen, and have even asked the agent who was the listing agent on the other side, and
Mhm.
they simply go, "Well, so what?" you
Oh,
know, because what happens is,
wow.
here's the thing, what buyers don't understand is they'll go, here's a perfect example, I'll tell you. Uh, had one person that had one of my agents was working with
Hmm.
and constantly, working with them, showing them houses, da 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 da, had a buyer broker agreement, took, all this kind of stuff. The buyer flat out told them, we don't want X county, this particular county. I don't want to go to that county.
I'm sure it
Okay.
happens in this area.
Everywhere,
Yeah,
it'll happen. And so, and then, in, so actually in the search criteria, she took out the, um, that particular county that they wanted to exclude.
sure.
Okay. And so that's what she did. She did what her buyer had asked her to do.
Yeah.
And so then they go to the listing agent at a property in that county that they didn't want.
Oh,
Yes. And
uh,
they go to the listing agent and say, and basically write it up, blah, blah, blah. We found out about it. And quite frankly, we could have sued her, sued a couple. We could have sued them.
hmm,
Definitely could have sued them
sure.
because they were in breach of our buyer broker agreement. And honestly, they were not, being honest with us
Right.
as to what they really wanted.
That's
I
so
like to
weird.
have I like to have a broader perspective of properties so that you can see, okay, in this county, this is how much my bang for my buck I'll get.
Sure, sure.
In that county, I get a little bit less. In that county, I get a little bit more, that kind of thing. And that's a good thing.
Hmm.
But if this is the implications of this, I think, is that we're going to find an increased amount of enforcement for contracts. That's what we're going to end up finding and
Is there
honoring. Mhm.
is there a cavalier attitude towards contracts these days? You
Yes.
see it, all you have to do is open the sports pages. This coach is leaving for that with 5 years
Hmm.
remaining on his contract. But also, I mean, I've
Hmm.
signed contracts on my phone, where you open up the PDF editor and you actually sign your name on the phone. But I know
Hmm.
people who just type their name and
Oh
hit
yeah,
authorize, and it's just like, oh, okay, so I
they
said
really
I
don't
was
know
going
what
to
they're
do this.
signing. Yeah.
Right.
And so I do understand that, but there is no excuse for it when you can prove that as an agent that you have shown every which way how to do,
Mhm.
this is how to do business. This is what this clause means. This is what that clause means. What you're going to end up seeing is a lot of people now are going to probably end up recording Google Meets or Zoom calls
Yeah.
or things like that so that they can prove that they actually explained this
Hmm.
to that person. But I think it's also this is coming from, this is part of the wake of the impact that we're seeing of the new NAR rules. Okay,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and this is what's happening. We're
Hmm.
in the wake of that. It's I know it's a year and a half now, but
These
we're in
things
the
take
wake of it.
time. Yeah.
They do, and actually but I also think it's going to help prove agent value, but also agent accountability.
Should.
The agent has to be accountable too. Okay,
Hmm.
so you have basically it's I think we need to understand the importance of agents, but agents also have to clearly demonstrate their value and
Hmm.
have signed agreements
Right.
to basically, ensure that they, get paid. And
Hmm.
with that one example I gave you, I literally, other than suing them, I didn't have really much of a leg to stand on, and so I asked agent my agent, if they wanted me to go ahead and pursue to sue them, and she said, basically, no, I don't think it's worth it. So
Wow.
that's then. This is now. And that
Okay.
is now. This is going to be the catalyst.
Hmm.
This is going to show us that we can and actually get something, because before we were just kicked to the curb,
Hmm.
you know?
Well,
So it
especially
did.
in the era of Zillow and all these other things where people
Mhm.
can get their FISBO on so much easier. There's probably an attitude amongst a home buyer. Oh, hey, I found this one. Didn't go
Yeah.
through my realtor. Why should I have to pay them?
Well, and the thing is too, is that the negotiations end up being the having the agents should be negotiating for their buyer with this FISBO what
Hmm.
they could get, even if they have to increase the sale price by 3, 4, 5%, whatever they need,
Right.
whatever the case might be. And so you're looking at these, because we have mandatory written buyer agency agreements now. Used to be the only mandatory thing in other states was listing agreements. Well, now we also have nationwide a mandatory written buyer agreement.
Hmm.
So this is, I think we're now in a position of being able to actually, if we can't show our value proposition, we're in big trouble,
Hmm.
because we're not going to be able to get, obviously that one who agent who won that arbitration could show prove that they, did everything right, or else they
Hmm.
wouldn't have won the case. you
Correct.
know but we have the removal now of the MLS commissions. It can't be in the MLS at all. we so uh,
Interesting.
so that's right, because now, because of the decoupling of the uh, the commissions. Okay,
Okay.
so it can't be assumed that the seller is going to pay it, but most sellers have good common sense that will say,
Yeah.
maybe I should budget for it just in case.
Well,
you
you're
know
you're the one who's going to get the money at the end of it for selling your house. So the
yeah.
people who took care of that, I mean, it's this silly world. Yeah, it's almost crazy making because,
Mhm.
we we on one hand will demand, fair value for our work, and then someone else will expect them to do everything for free for us. And it's just
It's just
you can't
wrong.
have your cake, your fruit cake, and eat it too.
Your fruitcake. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, I think that direct negotiations of fees, I think increases transparency.
Sure.
And I think that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But we also need to realize it has to be policed. We have to show, because here's the thing, our, the average agent, the NAR reports this, the it makes about $55,000 a year. Okay.
Wow.
That's
That's it?
not that's not much. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I was
not
gonna
it.
say.
Yeah. And think of this. That's the way it is, even with the inflated housing prices. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But it can be, and you can go to cynthiahash.com/teacher. Okay. And do HTTP, not S, HTTP ://
This
and
sounds
then
like a
go to
horror movie.
CH. Just go there. Yeah, I know, right? But go to cynthiahash.com/teacher. And honestly, you if you are able to put, you being a possible agent, if
Hmm.
that's what you really want, you can go for it and actually make good money. If you're within the top 10%, I would say you would be you could make well over $100,000 a year if you if you wanted to do that.
But it's
Um,
work. I mean, it's like
it's a
anything
lot
else.
of work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. Yes, it absolutely is. And the more you make, the more you have to spend because you can't do it all. So you have to hire people. So if you're
Right.
making $250,000 a year, half of that's going to an assistant,
Right.
that kind of thing. So it's an independent contractor thing, and that's what we have to understand is we're not really, people think that we're made of money, but we're not. And
Well, they see the price of the house and they figure,
yeah,
oh, well, I mean, it's a $500,000 house. She's got to be taking home a big paycheck
yeah.
for selling it when it doesn't sound like that's the case at all.
No, no, it truly isn't. But I do believe that I do believe you get what you pay for, and I do believe that right now this kind of case is
Hmm.
a contributing factor as to why buyer agent commissions are actually increasing. So in Q3 of this year, the it was 2.42 percent,
Wow.
which earlier in the year it was only 2.36%. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
and then you had we had somewhat of a slow market, right? But that boosted buyer leverage, and it keeps
Hmm.
commissions, stable and slightly higher, and or maybe
Right.
even slightly higher. But then rates varied modestly, but varied with tier levels. So anything that's like sub 500K homes, they were in the 2.52 range, and anything above $1 million home might have been in the 2.22%
Okay.
range.
Wow.
Uh, but I charge, what I charge because let's face it, you get what you pay for. And what's a 0.5%?
Hmm.
What's a 1/4% compared to the whole deal falling through
Oh,
because you got somebody that doesn't know what they're doing?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what
So,
you need. You need to have
hmm
that faith in the person.
hmm I have an example. One customer was looking for a new listing agent, and we talked a lot about strategy and told him my fee schedule. And he goes, "Whoa, oh, wait a minute. My former real estate agent charged me 2.5%. Why are you charging me this much?" And I said, "Well, you didn't pay her to take a photo of the toilet, did you?" Because I saw that in the listing photos. That's a big mistake in real estate marketing. And he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, okay, I understand. Where do I
Yeah.
sign?"
You think? You think? Well, Cynthia, I hope you're continuing your Christmas weekend and that you have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you again next week. You can find her at findhomesusa.com or cynthiahash.com for our reality of real estate this Saturday morning. Have a great weekend, Cynthia.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.